Before I start today's video, registration for Twin Suns Tournament, which is the Star Wars Squadrons tournament that I am hosting, is now open. Twin Suns Tournament has $20,000 in total prizes. You can register with a team of 5 with up to 7. You can have a couple reserves if you want, in case you can't dedicate yourself to the whole 2 days. Registration is linked down in the description, but let's get on with the video. Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars rambling video. For those of you who are new to the channel, during these videos I take something interesting in Star Wars or Star Wars fandom and talk about it for a little while. Usually these are a bit more freeform than my other videos, and typically I'll just put some footage, whether it's Halo or something else. So these are a good kind of video to put on if you're playing a game or doing some work or something like that, but there's still some gameplay for those of you who want to watch. Anyway, today I want to talk about the very strange universe of Star Wars leaks. Not the leaks themselves, although those can be very interesting, but the whole culture and fandom surrounding the actual process of leaking Star Wars material itself. There are about 5 or 6 different conflicts in this fandom, or category of conflicts, that get constantly brought up, and it can be both funny and sometimes sad to see. On a very high level, we've got sort of the ultimate question when it comes to leaking. Is it fair to leak the work of somebody else? And we have seen Lucasfilm employees at times criticize leakers. A lot of them have shown outright contempt for people that leak work before it's done, and you know what? I totally understand where they're coming from. Now, from an objective perspective, when I see someone get really angry about leaks, for me personally, I think, well, they're obviously not being neutral about this. They're obviously way too emotionally invested, but to be fair, this isn't really a discussion that's been very relevant recently. And maybe that's because leaks in the Star Wars universe and in Star Wars fandom have been everywhere, on and off at least. For example, as I mentioned in a prior video, the entire plot, large portions of the plot for The Rise of Skywalker were leaked online before the movie came out. And these were so well disseminated that even Burger King Germany made a video sort of poking fun and referencing the leaks. And again, this was before the movie came out, so that's pretty insane. Some major parts of The Mandalorian were leaked, although I will say the whole Luke thing never made it to the internet before it happened. I personally suspected it, as did a lot of people, but it was never confirmed beforehand. However, we did see Ahsoka confirmed, same with Katie Sackhoff playing Bo-Katan, and others. And that takes us to the main sort of area of conflict when it comes to leaks: veracity. Are these leaks real? Should they be believed? What's the source? Kind of all of that information, because it is fun to discuss, you know, the quality of leaks, what's happening, but also where they come from. Recently, I've noticed though that this has gone a little too far, and it's at the point now where there are big personalities in the Star Wars leak community, and I think that really detracts from the fun of it, because it's gotten way too personal. So I will be clear, I suspect there have always been pretty big personalities in this scene. I only really got involved before episode 7, and I don't remember who was providing most of the leaks for that, but ever since then it's sort of been a mix of a few major figures, then kind of the unsubstantiated stuff from 4chan and anonymous Redditors and wherever else. And I will say, when it comes to these anonymous leakers, the vast majority of the time, the stuff they're leaking is just outright false. And I mean, there's a whole series of in-jokes on the Star Wars Leaks subreddit, which is, at least to my knowledge, the most lively place for dropping and discussing leaks about stuff that never panned out. One of my favorites is episode 8 was supposed to have a scene where Luke would call Rey my baby girl. Episode 9 was supposed to have Anakin return to life as a sea creature. Lots of strange stuff, lots of sort of fun stuff there as well. But yeah, when it comes to veracity, assuming it's not something clear, like we get lots of leaks of merchandise or toys or even some screenshots of stuff, which it's pretty easy to determine whether it's false or not. The discussion has largely moved to the reputation of the leaker itself, and as I mentioned, there are a few really big leakers in the Star Wars community. Making Star Wars and Jason Ward are one of the big leakers back in the day, but for some reasons I don't want to discuss on this channel, have definitely fallen out of grace, probably pretty reasonable. And now it's frequently podcasters or insiders or journalists, and this also depends whether it's a gaming leak, and there are definitely a different set of people who talk about that. Often gaming leaks will come from people who don't just cover Star Wars news, and then there's just the general Star Wars leakers. And I want to say too, although I've been skeptical of some leakers in the past, I don't have a single bad thing to say about any of them. I mentioned on the channel that I think Jordan Mason's a good guy. I think the guys from Kessel Run Transmissions are cool. I can't think of anyone that I outright dislike. What I do dislike, however, is the sort of cult of personality that these characters have taken on in a way that's no fault of their own. For example, in Kessel Run Transmissions, which is a podcast, those guys are probably the best example of this. Whenever they post something on Reddit, the conversation becomes mostly about their journalistic record, i.e. the things they leaked turn out to be real or false. So I'll give a recent example, and by the way, I'm not going to actually spoil anything here. I'm going to avoid using the names of characters or anything like that. Kessel Run Transmissions leaked that a certain character from the Clone Wars would appear in the Bad Batch, and people discussed this. Then a supposed picture released on Reddit showing this, and there were lots of people in the comment section who were like, well, I think we all know to screw the haters. Anyone who doubts Kessel Run Transmissions at this point is full of it, etc., etc. Everyone owes them an apology. You guys get the idea. Someone also, I think, correctly said people have a really bizarre hate boner for them. It's pretty obvious that they have legit sources. I don't know whether their sources are legit. I don't really try to keep a track record of these things, but it is true. People definitely have a hate boner for them. Anyway, it turns out that this supposed screenshot, which would have validated one of their leaks, was actually a fake. And then, of course, the Reddit section in particular for that was a complete mess. Partially because some of the guys from Kessel Run Transmissions did a little bit of celebratory gloating, but you know what, I understand that, I would have too. But it ended up being things like, can't wait to see how they get out of this one, and how people shouldn't trust their claims, etc., etc. It ends up dominating the discussion, talking about these individuals. And I mean, that's not productive, because there's no reason to be spending this much time throwing hate at individuals. Do we really need to vilify these leakers? But on the other hand, do we also need to treat them like celebrities and deify them? Probably not. These leakers throw so much stuff out there. Some of it is what they really put their weight behind, other is just stuff that they've heard, that we're at the point where it's really impossible to determine any sort of record. And unless someone wants to go through and document everything, it's going to be that way for a while. But it's also just usually not possible, because a lot of stuff could have just legitimately been canceled in the pipeline, or in a case like this, we just have to wait and see. The thing that Kessel Run Transmissions leaked could still very well happen. They never claimed that they saw the source material, just that they were told that this specific scene exists. Well, it still could, even though this instance was photoshopped. I know I'm focusing on this one Reddit post a lot, but I really think it exemplifies the situation, and it's a nice recent example. So we had one user say, literally watched a few people get eviscerated in the comments the other day for suggesting KRT isn't as credible as everyone said. Tisk tisk. Someone responded, and people will get eviscerated for defending them at this point. Then they get something right next week and people will eviscerate their naysayers, and so on and so on. Someone else saying Kessel Run Transmissions is a clickbaiter and people still eat his shit up. If you throw 200 things at a wall, doesn't mean you're a legit leaker when 3 turn out to be right. That's Kessel Run Transmissions in a nutshell. It's not healthy to feel this way about someone you don't know when it comes to leaking things about Star Wars. And people do take this very, very seriously, and people end up getting mad, especially when stuff is leaked and it's something they don't want. The best example that I can think of this is when the plot leak for episode 9 was put online. People hated the movie when it was leaked, and a lot of people went out against the leaker, who was a mod of the StarWarsLeaks subreddit, and said that he should be taken off the Reddit, his posts should all be removed, just because it told a story that they didn't like. And that kind of reminds me of another issue I wanted to talk about. This one's actually kind of funny. The idea that Lucasfilm has this great arm of Disney or their own company put out to put fake Star Wars leaks into the wild to mislead us. There was a real conspiracy theory in the weeks leading up to episode 9 that despite all of the evidence that we had seen, we didn't know the plot of episode 9, that it was all fake, and that in fact this was a big ploy by Disney or Lucasfilm to feed us a false narrative so we wouldn't discover the actual leaks. And yeah, that's as ridiculous as it sounds, but pretty much every major leak that comes up, there's one person suggesting this, and when it comes to something like episode 9, there was a good 30 to 40% of the population that really wholeheartedly believed this. And that's the thing about the leaks community. It can be obsessive, and you know what? I've been there. When Star Wars Episode 7 came out and that movie was also fully leaked, I was refreshing my phone every day, checking Star Wars leaks, and it is a fun process. Some people do not enjoy having things spoiled for them. You know what? I totally get that. But me, I find the whole leak process leading up to the event to be a part of the anticipation. Now, if I haven't had a movie or a TV show leaked for me in, the few weeks beforehand, then I'll stop. But when it comes to episode 8 or episode 9, for example, the process leading up to the movie was as fun as the movie itself, really. That's especially true with the gaming leaks, for example, because we get a lot of really fun ideas which may or may not actually exist. And the Star Wars gaming scene is covered very heavily by some of the people, some of the characters I referred to earlier, but also by others. And it's just kind of like that situation where who knows whether it's going to happen. Anyway, I don't really know the point of this video other than to talk about both my love of the Star Wars leaking scene and also my frustrations with the focus on individuals and kind of the nastiness that arrives as part of that, but also some of the other major conflicts. And as I said, we had the ethics of leaking itself, how mad people get when something leaks that they don't like, and that's just a snapshot of some of the many issues. There are others that I can think of, how openly you discuss leaks, what spoiler policies should be, etc, etc. But guys, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was a little different, but I had fun talking about it, and I didn't have an upload plan for today anyway. Till next time, be safe, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.